So I don't have to introduce Arnie. It's already done for us. So, but I'll welcome to. And do you want to?
Yep,
Go on.
Eileen Houston, I'm a town camper of Alice Springs, Tungadura Council, but I'm also Director for Community Housing Central Australia.
Okay, good morning everybody and welcome. My name is Alan Mole. I'm a proud Murray man from Queensland, but I've been living in the Northern Territory for the past 46 years. I was born in Queensland. My mother's country is in the northern parts of Queensland, but Katherine and the Northern Territory is my home. This is where I'll be for the rest of my days with all my family. Big mob. So, in saying that, I am the CEO of Kalana Aboriginal Community Association in Katherine and Chair of the Aboriginal Housing in the Northern Territory. I'm proud to welcome you all here today to the AHANT Aboriginal Housing and Homelands Conference. Along with my Deputy CEO. I would first like to start by acknowledging that we are meeting here on beautiful Larrakia country, and I pay my respects to the Larrakia people. I also pay my respects to all Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islanders, Maori leaders and First Nation friends and colleagues who have joined us on this incredible, important conference over 2 days. And we welcome the Maori people that are here today, that travel across the ditch. Welcome, and I hope you enjoy the conference. I want to acknowledge and thank the Australian Government and the Northern Territory Government for their sustained support for AHANT. Our relationship with government is at times hard going, but we have plenty of robust discussions. But it is built on honesty and mutual respect, and I generally thank both governments for their commitments to AHANT and the NT's Aboriginal housing and homeland sectors more broadly. Also, I'd like to acknowledge the land councils, the ALCs, the Central Land Councils, the NLC, the Tiwi Land Council, who are AHANT also enjoy a deep and lasting relationship with. We would not be here today without the support from our cousins in the 4 land councils. We are at a critical time for Aboriginal housing and homelands here in the Northern Territory and for First Nations people globally. Aboriginal people in the Northern Territory are living in conditions that would not be accepted anywhere else. Here in the Northern Territory, we have the highest rates of homelessness in Australia, around 12 times the national average. Homelessness in the Northern Territory is driven by severe household overcrowding, particularly in remote and very remote communities, and high rates of rough sleeping. Around 3/4 of the people classified as homeless in the NT live in severely crowded dwellings, predominantly in remote communities, far exceeding any other jurisdiction in Australia. Aboriginal Territorians account for approximately 87% of the NT homeless population, making homelessness in the Northern Territory overwhelmingly a challenge for Aboriginal people, families and communities across the NT. Systems are under-resourced and stretched. Policy settings are increasingly punitive and make it difficult for Aboriginal community-controlled sectors to survive, much less thrive and succeed. We are in a housing crisis here in the Northern Territory. Housing in the Northern Territory is characterised by a history of neglect over decades. Reactive repairs and maintenance programs, poor design methodologies, often without local Aboriginal collaboration and input to account for culture, and a changing climate and a complete absence of new housing on homelands for over a decade again. AHANT acknowledges and welcomes the $4 billion remote housing joint investment from the Australian and Northern Territory Government. It's a good start, but the truth of the matter is this investment over 10 years will only go so far. Geopolitical conflicts and other economic pressures have driven increasing cost pressures for the Aboriginal community-controlled sectors and for housing services more broadly. High diesel and fuel costs, escalating material costs, and exceeding constraint on labour markets combined with depreciation assets and infrastructure make housing in the Northern Territory a very difficult proposition indeed. But these complexities are exactly why we, the Aboriginal community controlled sector, remain best placed to deliver services to our people, especially in these increasing complex times and constraints economic arrangements. We are from our lands. We know our people, and we are not going anywhere. We know how best to deliver services and support our people. Government also know this to be true. By committing to growing our sector through national agreements on closing the gap, all governments have committed to supporting us. It's not a mystery, but we cannot do it on goodwill alone. When things go wrong, we, the Aboriginal community controlled sectors, are shamed. We blamed, hauled through the media, discredited and used as footballs for cheap political point scoring. None of this is new, and unfortunately we are used to it by now. But where does accountability trust sit? Despite our calls for decades to sustain support for housing and homelands, we still see our people, our families, our kids living in abject poverty and in conditions most people here would weep at. Who is responsible for the conditions our people are forced to live in and endure every day? How can our kids grow strong with a sense of self-worth and dignity and hope for the future when they are living in such housing conditions? This is the heartbreak we are forced to endure. No parent wishes their children to live in these conditions, then why are we forced to accept these conditions? Why are our children forced to endure these conditions? How is this okay? And where does the responsibility truly sit? Governments are well aware of these conditions and have known for a very long time, and yet still avoid taking responsibility. Thinly veiled threats and attempts to discredit Aboriginal community control does nothing but deflect responsibility away from politicians and further erode trust and respect, both of which are sorely needed right now. Yes, we need honesty, but honesty means naming where responsibility trust sits. And it means being accountable for the responsibility, not hiding from it. Ministers are conspicuous of their absence. But despite these truths and despite the hardship we endure, we are still here and we're not going anywhere. Our people are not going anywhere. So we call on all governments to work with us. Do not treat us as a second class or subservient to the private or public sector. Help us help you. We ask that you work with us as equals, communicate with us respectfully, partner with us, but allow us to enable us to thrive and succeed. Because when we succeed, you'll have done your jobs and we all succeed. Thank you all for attending today. By attending this conference, you are choosing to stand with us, to be part of the solution. You are actively learning in a collaborative way with us regarding of what sector you work in. All of you here in this room have chosen to stand with us in solidarity. You are sending a clear message that things must and will change for Aboriginal people housing in communities, homelands and town camps. Working together respectfully with sustained support is the only way we find new solutions to the complex and housing problems we face. I am proud to welcome you all here today to the Aboriginal Housing and Homelands Conference for 2026. Hope you enjoy the conference over the next day, and thank you.